is more blue because again we have more blue from atmosphere, and where we have really bright colors is on horizon colors. When you look down, I realized that it's a little more difficult to find things on the surface than when you do it on the maps. Because on the maps you have borders, but in space you have no borders and you have only natural rivers, mountains, beaches, water and forest. So you start to understand that in many cases our separation on the Earth is more artificial. Naturally, we are living on the same surface. So you start to feel that we are more united. On the ground, we live in a different country with different view on some things, but being in space, we all exposed in a harsh environment. We all have about the same motivation to go up, and majority of us, and actually I would say all of us who was in space, start to care about environment, about Earth, about people on Earth. And you start to feel kind of brotherhood. We live on the same Earth, with the same bigger than station, but still spacecraft that are flying through the space, and we have joint problems together, environmental, technical, philosophical sometimes, but we need to solve these problems together, and that's the best way how to do that. I think what we do in space together is a good example how people need to live on the ground. I know that people sometimes start to argue with no good reason for that, but again, especially when you're in a harsh environment, you rely on each other, you try to help each other. That's how we live in space, and that's probably can be a good example for people on the ground. I'm happy that all this political turbulence doesn't affect us too much. We try to keep this area protected and keep this good example to show maybe politicians and maybe other people in my country, in your country, showing that that's really how we need to live.
Recently, our country opened this opportunity to participate in a space program and to be part of international cooperation, to be part of the ISS. So I applied, and then through my journey, I've been selected, and I've been fortunate to represent my country and also the whole Arab region, because I will be the first Arab on board the station. I read about Yuri Gagarin and Neil Armstrong, how they achieved their dreams and how they really reach the moon at that era, and then all of these things started the passion in me that I want to be part of this. I want to reach beyond the sky, to reach stars. Sitting at the top of the rocket and waiting for countdown, going to stars, and to join a lead team on board the station, doing a science, doing something for humanity. It's really something incredible, something that we want to tell it to the next generation. If you ask me like 2 years ago, can you be an astronaut? I will tell you I would like to be, but I think it's impossible. But now it's possible. What we did in our country and in our region after this mission is really impressive in terms of igniting the spark in the next generation. This is our job as an astronaut to let them know, to give them the experience that what we saw, what we experience on board the station, you cannot experience here on Earth. From microgravity, from floating, and the view of the Earth from there, it's really amazing. It's something that's overwhelming. Looking at Earth from that angle, it's different angle, different perspective, and you come back with appreciation what you have here on ground. I landed in Kazakhstan, but I felt like I'm back home. So despite the country that you land, you come back to your home, to our mothership, to our planet, to Earth. It's amazing how space unites everyone, despite from which country you're coming from, or from your religion or your background. It's unite everyone. So it's really important to focus in this aspect and to focus in this front to exploring space, because somehow everything is dissolved. All these political issues, all borders dissolve. Despite from where we are coming, like from which country, our backgrounds, our religion, our objective is one, is for humankind.
In first grade, when we were asked to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I remember drawing a picture of an astronaut standing on the surface of the moon, the kind of iconic Apollo image in the spacesuit next to the flag on the moon. And that was what I drew then, and said I wanted to be an astronaut, and then always said it all the way through since that time. I knew that I was going to be ecstatic being in space. You know, it was my lifelong dream, and I knew that it was going to make me happy. But I didn't expect how incredible it felt. And I said that a lot to people, that it's even more incredible than I ever imagined. And I really meant it, because I had thought so much about it, and I knew it was going to be the most extraordinary experience of my life. But I wasn't even prepared for how I felt, the level of excitement and just pure joy that I felt all the time in that environment. I really felt like I was home. I felt like that was where I should be. And I don't think I stopped smiling for pretty much the entire 7 months. I would find myself thinking, how can this be real, that I'm floating above the planet and looking down on it? You know, even after 7 months, and knowing what we had done to get there, and that I'd really worked for this my entire life, it still is actually hard to convince yourself that it's really happening, which maybe sounds a bit funny, but even after 7 months, it just felt that way looking down on the Earth. Wow, this is real. I'm up here floating above the Earth. When you're in the space station in the cupola, there are stars all around you, and you can really feel it that way. I think that's a good way to describe it. You feel like it's more three-dimensional and diffuse, and you gaze off into it, and it is really just extraordinary to think about.